remember I made several statements. But the statement I remember vividly I made, I said every single member in this house must be allowed to debate on the issue. So we know the position of every single member of this house. Those who are for it and those who are against it. I have made that statement. So if that is the statement you are asking me to withdraw, I humbly withdraw that statement.
Honorable member, you made a specific statement in relation to the minister.
I sat here and repeatedly heard Honorable Mutala refer to me as a practitioner of LGBT to the hearing of everyone in this house. I sat here and repeatedly heard him
Honorable Minister,
shout at the top of his voice and refer to me as a practitioner of LGBTQ. And every single last one of you is behaving as if you didn't hear it. And if in response to that I say he is mad, it is only a madman who will refer to his colleague in this house as a practitioner of LGBTQ. When you haven't seen me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable Minister.
When you haven't caught me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable
you
Minister.
Sit there and refer to me in those terms. In those terms.
Honorable Minister.
And we call ourselves honorable members of this house. When you all hear it and pretend that suddenly you've lost your sense of hearing.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, do me that honest, please. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, just do me that honest, please. Just do me that honest.
Of the show. It's always a pleasure to come to you. It's another Thursday, and it's a casual Thursday, so forgive me if you see me dressed like this. That's how we do it. 24 minutes past the top of the hour, 9 o'clock. Tonight we have so much to share. That was the drama in Parliament yesterday about the bill that is in Parliament now, the bill which is calling on stricter measures against the LGBTQ practice, if you like. Now, it is widely reported that Mohammed Mutala had said in Parliament, not as a contribution to the floor, but he had insinuated that the Honorable Esla Owusu was a practitioner, and that's what you saw the reaction of Esla. Tonight, we will be speaking to the gentleman who sat next to Esla, Honorable Esla Owusu, the Honorable Atachia, who I spoke to earlier today, who said he actually heard Mutala say that. Well, it looks like sleeping dogs have come to lay now, because the Speaker has asked for a withdrawal from both sides, from Mutala Mohammed and from Esla Owusu. And I think at the end of yesterday, peace prevailed. So we'll get back to that story and deal with it in other angles. Our first story tonight, well, later tonight we have other stories. We do have a story on the NDC. If you read the newspapers yesterday, some of them are talking about the NDC running mate situation. So because we like research, we decided to research into it. So we're going to share with you our research findings on what happens when the NDC keeps their running mates and what happens when the NDC changes their running mate for the next election. And our research is coming from 1992. So we have looked at 92, 96, 2004, and 8, and 12, and 16, and 20. And we have a story. We have a certain line of occurrences that we'll share with you. Maybe that will guide President Mahama in choosing his running mate. Maybe it will not guide him. Our responsibility is just to share with you. And then on the NPP side, we do have a story as well. Historically, we're looking at the NPP and NDC in their attempts to break the 8. The NDC has attempted twice, and the NPP has attempted once. The second opportunity for the NPP to attempt that will be in next year's election. So we also have done the history of that as well, and then we'll share it to you. It's just our love for research that brings out these stories. We're going to share that with you. Also, we're going to have an interview in the studio with this man who is celebrating, should we call it celebrating, who is observing 10 years after he came from prison. Have a look at this video. This is a video of Atubiga. Have a look at it.
I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I'm not from any fancy family, and I come from a very poor home, Your Honor.
So you learned the slangs from your poor family?
My Lord, I've lived in the United States for 14 years, my lords.
This is what I suspect. In the United States, you know the law works irrespective of anybody?
Yes, my lord.
For that, you're very, that's the first thing that anybody who has been to the U.S. for some time cannot miss out from. And you come back here with that experience, instead of trying to help build your country in a better way, you just put it aside.
I apologize, my lords, and I take full responsibility for my irresponsible actions. I apologize, my lords.
From the publication, you wanted to be a member of Parliament for Binduri. So this is the kind of leadership you are coming into leadership position in this country, and we should sit here and allow that.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the show again. So we are beginning. We'll come back to Atubiga. So he went to prison for contempt of court, and tonight he is visiting with us in the studio, and he has graciously accepted our interview. We'll be speaking to him as part of this show. Tell us what took him to prison. What does he regret? What does he remember? What happened in prison, and then going forward in terms of the relationship between the Supreme Court and commentators like all of us. What should be, well, since 2013, I think there's been very cordial and uneventful relationship between the Supreme Court and commentators. But he will tell us a story. He will also tell us why since then he has resigned or left the NDC. He's formed his own political party. Is he hoping to run for 2024? Whether he's left the NDC or not, you can't take the NDC from Atubiga. He's a true NDC cadre. So we'll ask him what is happening in the NDC in terms of the choices. We'll be doing those stories anyway. But we are starting with today in history, isn't it? A friend of mine just sent me this early this evening, and I was just preparing for the show when he sent it to me and said, have a look at this. Maybe you can do something with it. And all of those, my friends who send me these things, they are the reason why sometimes we are up to date on this program, because some of the most important things we've done on this show have not come from me or from the production team. People who are driving home and they text and say, look, you can have a look at this story. So we really like that. We welcome that. Those of you who know our numbers, you can send it to us all the time. He sent me this, and I thought it's interesting. Thursday, 6th July 1978, Kutu resigns from government or so. Now, who is Kutu? The generation that I'm speaking to may completely be at sea about what these things are if they have not learned the history, as some people decided that they shouldn't teach history. But let me get back the story. I'm not done with the story before I come to the personalities, the key actors in this story. Okay, so it says, General Kutu Achampong, head of state and chairman of the Supreme Military Council, has resigned the chairmanship of the council and voluntarily retired from the armed forces with immediate effect. It was announced yesterday. In a letter to the Supreme Military Council, General Achampong said he had taken the decision in the interest of the nation. Lieutenant General FWK Akufu, Chief of Defense Staff, has assumed the chairmanship of the council. Following the resignation of General Achampong, the following promotions have been made. Major General R.E.A. Kote, Army Commander, now becomes Chief of Defense Staff. Brigadier N.A. Odate Wellington now has been promoted to the rank of Major General and becomes the Army Commander. A statement issued by the castle in Accra last night said the revised membership of the SMC is therefore as follows. Lieutenant General F.W.K. Akufu, Chairman. Mr. Ernest Ako, IGP, Member. Major General R.E.A. Kote, Chief of Defense Staff, Member. Rear Admiral J.K. Amedome, Navy Commander, Member. Major General E.K. Utuka, Border Guard Commander, Member. Air Vice Marshal G.Y. Boache, Air Force Commander, Member. Major General N.A. Odate Wellington, Army Commander, Member. Colonel I.K. Amoa has been appointed Commander of the 1st Infantry Brigade and a member of the NRC. The Chief of Staff of the Ministry of Defense, Brigadier Nuno Mensah, has also been appointed a member of the NRC. Is that not interesting? These things happen in Ghana. Is that not interesting? So this is 1978. Now, after 78, then came June 4, 79. Unfortunately, many of the members that I mentioned to you were executed by firing squad after the Flight Lieutenant Rolling School of June 1979. They were thought to be corrupt. They were thought to have brought the nation to its knees. They were thought to have misgoverned. And all of them, including Achampong, who had resigned, were all put to trial. Some kind of a kangaroo trial was organized for them, It was a trial where there's a screen is preventing you from seeing the person who was trying you. Often the person who were trying them were members of the AFRC, far lower ranking military officials, sergeants and corporals were trying their generals and asking them questions about whether they had double girlfriends and these are the questions that they were asked. And these are the questions for which the answers they gave put them to prison. Later on, during the justification scenario, we were told that they were being killed because they had attempted to overthrow a government under the 1969 Constitution. The coup makers said they were implementing the 1969 Constitution. There's one question I ask them all the time, and I ask Bochijan that question they've not been able to answer. And it is this: the crimes that they tried the people under were crimes that have been prescribed by the Criminal Offences Act. That's how we call it now, the Criminal Offences Act. It was called the Criminal Code, and it was Criminal Offences Act passed in 1960, I believe. Now, the Criminal Offences Act is Act 30. It was passed together with Act 29, the Criminal Procedure Act, so that when they tell you the crimes that are prescribed, stealing prescribed, coup d'etat prescribed, the Criminal Procedure Code also tells you how to come to the conclusion that somebody has committed treason or somebody has committed crime. And so that is why the two acts were passed together. 30 and 29 were passed together by the Parliament. They have to be passed together because they must have the life of the law at the same time, because they are used together. You go to court and you say somebody has committed a crime, say any crime. You go to the Criminal Procedure Code to determine how you come to that conclusion that he's committed a crime. Unfortunately, in this situation, they call them criminals or alleged criminals for having overthrown the government, and therefore they charge them with treason. But the procedure that they used is very different from the treason trial that we are currently seeing right now. You know there's a treason trial going on. The procedure that was applied by the coup makers was completely different. Their procedure was kangaroo. They put a mirror there, glass mirror, and then somebody sits behind and says, who are you? You say, I'm General FWK Akufu. How many wives do you have? How many girlfriends do you have? And they talk like that, and then they say you are guilty. And then they took them to the States and they shot them. Never again. I'm recounting this for the youth to be shocked. I want you to be shocked. And I believe that you are shocked. Yes, this is what happened in Ghana. And who were the perpetrators? Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and General Kutu Achampong here and General Akufu here. Both of them were shot in June 1979 for having committed high treason. And Flight Lieutenant Rawlings has said for many times that he was not in full control of the situation, that Ghanaians were angry. They were angry with the generals. For whatever reason, they were angry. And so they deserved to be killed, or Ghanaians wanted to kill them, something like that. After the generals left power, the elections occurred. Dr. Liman's party came to power. They were also removed by Rawlings, and it was said that Ghanaians were unhappy because the Liman government was not doing well, because cocoa price was at this, and milk is that, and inflation is that. And so once again, Rawlings came in. In that situation, they were not shot, but many extrajudicial killings occurred. After that, we had a 1992 Constitution. We have had 1992 Constitution, we have had 96, and we have had 2004. If you look at Ghana today, it mimics the things that were happening under Achampong. Today, sometimes some of the soldiers will meet you and say that one day we'll go back and erect a monument for Achampong. One day we'll do that, because Achampong is the one who said that we should give the commanding heights of the economy to the Ghanaian people themselves. Buzia said it, and Achampong reiterated it many times. Achampong is the only president who ruled for 8 years and never traveled outside the country. They said he was afraid of an omen. Achampong built El Wak Stadium. Achampong built the annexes at the University of Ghana. Those of you who went to University of Ghana, all the annexes you see were built by Achampong. Achampong built many facilities in KNUST. Achampong's administration was responsible for Ghana being able to tell the IMF that we do not need a loan. In 1976, the IMF wanted to give Ghana money. Ghana said we don't need it, because we really didn't need it. Somehow, after 76, 77, the economy slipped a bit, and they were killed for taking loans. If you look at the Ghana story today, you can look at it even during the Rawlings era. By the time Rawlings was leaving in 1999, the sentiments of Ghanaians was probably worse than when Achampong was, but nobody killed him. So that's the story we need to learn, and that's how we need to go for it. That's why it's important to me that a year in history is drawn in the way that it is drawn. May they all rest in eternal peace. May they rest in eternal peace. For those of you young Ghanaians, what shall we say? Never again. Okay, all right. Let's get to the Parliament story and see what really happened yesterday in Parliament. So the story is told that What have they given me? Okay, UNDP. I'll come to the UNDP. Yes, let me take the UNDP story. Now, I'll come to Parliament in a minute, because on Parliament we'll be calling Atachian. So guys, get ready. Please text Atachian that we'll be calling him at about 9:30 for the Parliament story. The reason why we are calling Atachian is that he is our principal witness. If you look at the video, you see that he sat next to Esla. So we're going to ask him what was said and what was not said. He's going to come on the phone in a bit. There's been talk about, just to deal with this story, there's been talk about credit rating agencies. And we know that Akufo-Addo had concerns about credit rating agencies. And now we are hearing something very interesting. It's being said by the UNDP leader in Ghana that if the credit ratings had not downgraded some African countries, about $74 billion would have been coming into our economy. As a result of the downgrading, that money didn't come. But let's see what she says. More objective credit ratings could save billions for African countries. That's the development analyst. That's what she says. African ministers, development actors, and research institutes gathered on 14th April in Washington, D.C. on the margins of the 2023 World Bank IMF spring meetings to discuss the impact of credit ratings on the cost of development finance in Africa. At this meeting, organized by the United Nations Development Programme UNDP, the Africa Growth Initiative at Brookings Institution, and Africa Catalyst, they raised the need to review international financing systems and particularly the determination of sovereign credit ratings for African countries where data is often missing or of poor quality. The event was centered around a new study by UNDP which shows that African countries could save up to $74.5 billion if credit ratings were based on less subjective assessment. This, in turn, would enable them to repay the principal of their domestic and foreign debt and free up funds for investment in human capital and infrastructural development. Quote, if we want to bring about change, we need to change the game, unquote, emphasized H.E. Oulimata Sarr, Minister for Economy, Planning and Cooperation, Republic of Senegal. Another quotation says, quote, this week, all finance and economic ministers have been highlighting that they are looking for reform. The current qualitative assessment is not a true reflection of our economies, unquote. Borrowing from capital markets to finance economic development is a necessity, not a choice, especially as official development assistance ODA flows have been shrinking in recent years. Subjective credit ratings increase the cost of servicing debt and put cash-strapped countries in a difficult position, having to choose between repaying debt and feeding their population. Furthermore, non-objective credit ratings also reduce the amount of investment that countries receive, as they are perceived to be riskier than they really are. These negative impacts can occur even if the inaccurate credit ratings are not due to the conscious bias, but rather to inadequate data and or methodologies that are too subjective. It's very interesting what these people said when they met in Washington. Quotation, African countries can rely on international capital markets and credit ratings become crucial for crowding in the required development finance, unquote, said H.E. Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Republic of Ghana. It is time for Africa to have its own credit rating agency. However, major challenges such as systemic bias and limited data are still a hindrance. We are at the heart of polycrisis, and African governments are struggling with a drought in development financing, unquote, stressed Ahuna Ezia-Konwa, UN Assistant Secretary General and UNDP Regional Director. She said, quote, we urgently need more fairness and justice in the way we conceptualize multilateral agencies. We need to foster agency for African people to meet development aspirations and a system where risk can be fairly priced. African countries and their development partners can take immediate steps to address these credit ratings idiosyncrasies in partnership with global rating agencies, some of which are highlighted in the new UNDP report titled Lowering the Cost of Borrowing in Africa, the Role of the Sovereign Credit Rating. African countries need to engage with credit rating agencies to understand their methodologies and make sure the assessments are in line with macroeconomic fundamentals, unquote, explained Dauda Sembene, Managing Director of the Dakar-based think tank Africa Catalyst. The attempt to quantify future uncertainty is indeed a difficult task. Often though, we observe that the credit rating agencies provide counterintuitive opinions because they employ inexperienced staff who are good in mathematics but lack an appreciation of the complexity of the real world, especially the complex operating environment in Africa, unquote, explained Aloysius Uche Odo, Director of the African Growth Initiative at the Brookings Institution. At the event, UNDP, the Africa Growth Initiative at the Brookings Institution, and Africa Catalyst announced the creation of a bespoke database of key macroeconomic indicators and a new consortium of high-level advisors to support African countries during the credit rating process. So I think a good conversation has been started, isn't it? I mean, those people who have been ministers of finance before clearly understand some of these things. They're talking about how rating agencies could tear us apart. Remember, some time ago, President Akufo-Addo was quite concerned about these things. He got a bit of flack from the opposition, but instead of managing the economy, we are sitting down talking about rating agencies. But here we are. All the important people around the world from Africa, including even the UNDP, are seeing that these rating agencies put up stuff about Africa that affects African countries, not just Ghana, many African countries, such that by now we would have lost 74.5 billion. Is gone because of credit ratings. This is what President Akufo-Addo said, for which he was heavily criticized. Here's the video.
I can comfortably and convincingly say this. As the AU champion for African financial institutions and leader of a country which recently had to deal with one of the most difficult periods in its post-independent history, difficulties which were exacerbated by the reckless behavior of rating agencies that engaged and I can comfortably and convincingly say this. As the AU champion for African financial institutions and leader of a country which recently had to deal with one of the most difficult periods in its post-independent history, difficulties which were exacerbated by the reckless behavior of rating agencies that engaged
That was President Akufo-Addo speaking about the rating agencies that many people criticize him. But now we see that it's getting traction. It's an important conversation. It's good. That's not just for Ghana, but for all of Africa. Let's get to our next more exciting story, domestic political fiery story, which happened in Parliament yesterday. So what's the story? The story is that yesterday, the Speaker led Parliament to the second reading of the LGBT bill. You know that when bills come to Parliament, they go through a certain process. The first reading is when the bill is announced, and it's usually referred to a committee. The Committee of Constitutional and Legal Affairs had been looking at this bill for a while. They finished, they've made the adjustments, the Attorney General has made an input, all of that. So the bill is coming back to the floor of the House for the second reading. So the Speaker invited a second reading, and at the second reading stage, members of Parliament are able to make comments, and some things may change. It may go back to the committee, will come back for the third reading, at which stage it will be adopted. A vote will be called. They say, as many as are in favor of the bill say aye, as many as are against it say no, and the Speaker will say the ayes have it, or the Speaker will say the noes have it, depending on how he hears it. Okay. So yesterday was the second reading of the bill. Somewhere along the debate, the Speaker said, he was concerned, was he concerned? He observed that almost every person who is speaking in favor of the bill. So he said, okay, there are 275 members of us here. For us to speed up this process, is there anyone here who is against the bill? Let a person stand up. Let me recognize him and let him speak against the bill. No MP stood up, of course. So 275 MPs are thought to be in favor of this bill. But given what happened in Asin North, where there was undertones, and during the interview at Asin North, we talked about it quite a bit. There were undertones of the NDC campaign suggesting to the voters in Asin North that if they were to vote for Charles Opoku, who is the NPP candidate, NPP will get enough numbers in Parliament to pass the LGBT bill or to kick against the bill. No, the bill in Parliament is against LGBT. So the opposition will be to ditch the bill, and that NPP will have enough numbers to ditch the bill, and that men will be asked to marry men and women will be asked to marry women in Asin North constituency. Of course, the people of Asin North were completely outraged about this because we know how LGBT sits within the Ghanaian community. Over the last week, I've had people call me and send me texts and say that there's a political campaign going on, particularly in Ashanti region, where underneath people are being told that if you vote this way, they are going to ask your son to marry his cousin, the boy, and they are going to ask it. It's a raging campaign in Ashanti region, I've been told, and all politicians must check it, and all politicians must be careful not to put up a campaign that you know is false, because if it's found out, we will come on this platform, we will not forgive you. So I hope that nobody's running that campaign, but we have been told that people are running that campaign in Ashanti region. Okay, so yesterday the speaker said, if you're against LGBT stand-up, nobody stood up. And then when the news reports started filtering out of the Chamber of Parliament and out of the press gallery, we heard that there had been some major drama in the I nearly said in the studio, in the Chamber of Parliament. Murtala Mohammed, our friend, is reported to have said, whilst Honorable Dafia Makpo was on the floor contributing to the debate, he's reported to have said that Esla Owusu, the Minister for Communication, was a practitioner. Madam Esla Owusu didn't take kindly to that at all. The speaker has said that he heard it. The speaker hasn't said what he heard, but he has told everyone that he heard it. And he invited Murtala to apologize. Here's the video of what happened. So the video starts from where Murtala is talking. So the first video you see is Murtala talking to the speaker. But that came later than Esla Owusu's outrage. So you see Murtala first and you see Esla Owusu first. But remember that Esla Owusu's outrage came before Murtala. We put it together this way so that you can understand it. So speaker told Murtala, withdraw what you have said about the Honorable Communications Minister. This is what Murtala said.
The statement I remember I made several statements. But the statement I remember vividly I made, I said every single member in this house must be allowed to debate on the issue. So we know the position of every single member of this house. Those who are for it and those who are against it. I have made that statement. So if that is the statement you are asking me to withdraw, I humbly withdraw that statement.
Honorable member, you made a specific statement in relation to the minister.
I sat here and repeatedly heard Honorable Murtala refer to me as a practitioner of LGBT to the hearing of everyone in this house. I sat here and repeatedly heard him
Honorable Minister,
shout at the top of his voice and refer to me as a practitioner of LGBTQ. And every single last one of you is behaving as if you didn't hear it. And if in response to that I say he is mad, it is only a madman who will refer to his colleague in this house as a practitioner of LGBTQ. When you haven't seen me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable Minister.
When you haven't caught me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable
you
Minister.
Sit there and refer to me in those terms. In those terms.
Honorable Minister.
And we call ourselves honorable members of this house. When you all hear it and pretend that suddenly you've lost your sense of hearing.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, do me that honest, please. Honorable Minister, I beg of you, just do me that honest, please. Just do me that honest.
Well, you can tell how she was completely outraged. This is Esla Owusu. Esla is fine, isn't she? Really fine woman. Very intelligent too. But you heard she was very outraged. But how does a member of parliament suggest on the floor of the house that another member of parliament is LGBT? Okay, we do have Atacha on the line. I have Atacha's photograph. Okay, they'll have it on the screen. Atacha is on the line. Hello, honorable member of parliament for Buakwa. South, yes. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, evening, Paul.
Well, as I told you earlier, many journalists will be looking to ask you a few questions because you were sitting right next to the Honorable Communication Minister when she alleged that she had been called names. Was she truly called names?
Yes, I heard it so loud and clear.
What did
he
the...
shouted across. He shouted across, so the NDC people heard it, and the speaker heard it. How can we be living in such a denial?
What did he say? What did Honorable Mutala say?
That she is part of the, the gay movement.
He said who was part of the gay movement?
The Honorable Aslosu. You know, the people who are involved in the LGBTQ, whatever. Yes! Out loud. Nobody can say that, he has his senses working and didn't hear it. And the speaker that I see close by heard it. And that's why I say to apologize.
Well, for better particulars, did he say it sitting down to say, Esla, you're a member of LGBT, you're a practitioner, or what did he do? Did he point at her?
He mentioned Esla's name.
Mention her name?
Yes.
How did he know that? Did he say why he's saying that?
He didn't give any reason at all. I don't understand why he did what he did. A very good friend of mine, but it was very repugnant. I was not happy at all. And I even stood up to protest, that what's going on.
Well, but when the speaker said he should apologize, the video we have just showed, he seemed to have apologized for something else. He said he told the parliament during his contribution that every member of parliament must be allowed to say their view on this bill. And that he sat down, that if that's what the speaker wants him to withdraw, he can withdraw it.
Unfortunately for me, and everybody, I thought the speaker would have said, you said this and this and this, and I heard it. So the speaker was just being diplomatic and was also taking advantage of the diplomacy. Yeah, that was what the speaker was doing. Because I'm saying that where I say, I'm a bit close to the speaker, and I heard it loud and clear. I'm telling you.
Okay,
and
but he raised
no incentive to lie about it.
Yes, he raised a technical point. When I listened to him on Joy FM's top story yesterday, Mutala raised a technical point. He said that things that people say that are not said as part of the contribution to the floor debate, should the speaker be asking people to either withdraw, recalibrate, re-say it, because it's not part of Parliament's record. What do you say to that?
So when you start jumping on your seat in Parliament, because it's not part of Parliament record and answer won't capture it, that unruly behavior should be celebrated. Is it logical? If you are having a very serious conversation with other members of Parliament, why is serious debate going on? So as a matter of fact, you are making a lot of noise to disrupt a proceeding in Parliament. Because it's not being captured by answered, should we clap for you? It's a very, very banal argument. I believe you shouldn't be saying it. But sometimes when we lose our cool and temper, and they bring it to attention that where you are going, you are treading some boundaries. Decency requires that, I'm sorry, I lost my temper. And what I said concerns a colleague in Parliament is so unsavory, it's so repugnant, I've withdrawn it. That is what I think, decency requires. But to try and play games with the speaker, because the speaker too was trying to be very diplomatic about what he said, I found it very unfortunate. A very good friend of mine, I have to tell you the truth, but I think what happened yesterday, it was very bad. It was very bad.
Okay, but is it settled now? Are sleeping dogs been made to lie?
Yes, that's what happened. Essentially, even members of his side went to him that please render the apology. Yes, if it were not so, why would they come to? If I false pretenses was bad for me. You should own up. I said, look, I lost my cool, and I said something very, very bad about my colleague. Please, I apologize. But it's also, the mark of a gentleman. Where you miss it and you confess that, look, it was bad. It was very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate.
Okay, so
in my several years as a member of Parliament, I've not seen anything like that before.
All right, so where's the bill right now? Second reading completed. Is it about to be passed?
Well, then we go to the consideration stage proper, where we begin to look at clause by clause, and then if there are, advertise amendments and the rest of it, we go through it until eventually, we clear. So that's where we're going to go, where we do what they call the win-no-win. Yeah.
Will that take long, given what you know about Parliament's process?
It didn't take long because, see, a lot of intellectual input has gone into, the preparation of the bill. And I cannot foresee very, very serious, substantial amendment, which will require that maybe a whole clause, should be changed and the rest of it. And sometimes, people on their feet might want to even, change the structure of what they are attempting to, write into law. So, with the kind of extensive consultation that's gone on, I can't foresee a very tedious process of getting it into a law.
So you anticipate that, by and large, the Parliament will pass it very soon?
Certainly. I do not see any impediment in the way of Parliament in getting this bill passed into law. And then it will refer to the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces to give his blessing at the end of the month.
Okay, let's move to another matter, still on politics, because in August, members of the MPP special delegates, about 1,223 of you, will be voting to reduce the numbers of people that the National Executive and the National Council has vetted. There are more than 5. There will be about 9. So all of you will be invited to cast a vote to select 5. As Member of Parliament for Abuakwa North, the Honorable Atachian, you have a vote.
Abuakwa South.
Abuakwa South, you have a vote. Have you decided yet where you are voting on the special delegates?
Well, long before it started, I'm a condemned Baumia guy, and I won't stop. And I say it for good measure. You see, Paul, let's not try and pretend that in this party, it's only Akans who are qualified to lead the party. I do not believe that that's the thinking of Dr. J.B. Dankwa, who comes from my backyard. I do not think that the elevation of Dr. Buzia was like that. That kind of intellectual bent. I don't believe in it. And I don't believe that, at the end of the day, we, the accounts, we are users. When we get a very good, intelligent, brilliant, let's partner with him. And then when it is his turn, given the immense experience he's had, serving another person as a president, let's push him aside and get another account. I think it will be a crack in our so-called understanding of democracy as a party. And we shouldn't try and do something otherwise. It's going to really, really, really dismember this great party of ours. We think that the vice president is not qualified to become the next president of this country.
Okay, but then people say that your party has a big tradition. It's a party that started with the pen and the heart and mind of Dankwa. Buzia was the obvious next. William Oforiatta and Victor Usu were the next. Edu Boahen was the next. Kufuor was the next. By the time Edu Boahen was there, people knew that Kufuor and Kwame Safo-Edu and others would be next. By the time Kufuor was running, everybody knew that Akufo-Addo would be next. By the time Akufo-Addo is running, it is thought and believed that the next in line is Alan Chemartin, the former trade minister, who is also running for this one. Why are you not following the MPP tradition? And this time, for some reason, the one next in line should be ditched.
You see, I'm afraid when we use that kind of argument, we don't understand the times. First of all, out of the lot, I still want to assert in strong terms, I do not believe anybody has gotten hands-on experience in becoming a president more than this man. Everything we've gone through, from COVID, whatever, all the troubles President Akufo-Addo has gone through, the man has come to terms with those things. We should bear that in mind. And then we are being ushered into a very difficult moment of our time. And out of the lot, the one who truly understands the economy of this country. Because if the whole issue is about the economy, I mean, why don't we entrust the whole governance of this country to him to turn the situation around for the betterment of everybody? And if he's pitting his strength against another Northerner, you see, I can see multi-votes. For the first time, they will see another man from our fold, MPP. It will come to us. So a lot of Muslims also in, what's it called, the NDC, will vote for him. Because it is their glory that NPP is showing for the first time. And we are that kind of, if you like, matured political party that we respect meritocracy. And that we are not tribal in orientation. And we don't look down on any tribe. If a man is very, very powerful and very competent and he can do the job, then this issue of, as for this party, is all Dankwa, is all William Uforiata, is Anakufuado, anybody who has another name, which is not Akan, is not qualified to become president. I'm afraid it's an aberration nobody should encourage.
That's very interesting and also very powerful narrative. But you have said to us on this show, the first show for this year, that your best case scenario is for Alhaji Mahamudu Bawumia, if he's able to win the MPP contest, to partner with Alan Martin. That's what you said before. Do you still stand by that position?
I still stand by that position because at the end of the day, you understand, if you can't serve as a vice president, I don't believe you are qualified to become the president. Why is it that another man has served as a vice president and you are saying that, me, for one reason or the other, I can never serve this meeting as a vice president? It will be very, very weird, you know, and it will amount to some other thing I don't want to say. But to say that, I cannot be subordinated to another man. But how come somebody has gotten intellectual powers and is very, very strong himself and say, look, I will serve under somebody. Anybody who cannot serve under another man, I'm afraid of that person. So why wouldn't he do that? And then become also a vice president. And then what happens? Whatever future this nation has for him, he can continue from there. That is my view. And then when we talk about, the Northern and the Southern match, I believe there will be a perfect, match. For us to break the 8, that is my humble view. But if I remember somebody saying that, if you want to, bring, you want to say that Alan should not go, and that Alan should, partner with the president, vice president, Mahamudu Bawumia, then who will be president? I had a very big person, under Kufuor's, presidency, saying this. I said that if you can't serve as a vice president, you know what you are ministering to the entire nation. I say you are too big in yourself. Anybody who can serve under another man is a scary kind of scenario, you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Atacha. We'll come to you again. Later tonight, we have a story on the MPP break the 8. We'll come to you again, Honorable Atacha. Thank you very much. It's 5 minutes past the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. We are in full swing. This is Good Evening Ghana. It's live. We're yet to do our big political stories. We're going to be talking about John Mahama's choice for his running mate. And we're going to also talk about the MPP's position on breaking the 8. Before we even do that, because we advertise it, and we have Atubiga in the studio who is going to speak to us as well. Because we advertise it, there are some text messages. Let me start with you, Fatih. What text message do you have on the John Mahama running mate?
All right. Thank you, Paul. Coming from Citizen Francis, he says, Ghana's parliament should be commended for its united position on the anti-LGBTQI bill. As Ghanaians, we uphold our cultural values and traditions that do not align with these LGBTQ community. Also, coming from Mr. Master Planner Junior Kentampo, Honorable Muntala should apologize to Honorable Ursula. He was one of the NDC members I used to admire. Although I am a member of the NPP, I'm highly disappointed in him. What he did is against Islam. He should read Quran chapter 49 verse 1.2. No, he should know this, and I'm sure he's well versed in the Quran. He should better apologize. Antoinette.
Okay, so here's what's coming from Al Hassan Salifu. He says, wow, so lovely and grateful response from Honorable Samuel Ata-Echia. It is possible. Samuel Ofusuva says, good evening, Paul and your disciples. Most Ghanaians are diehard fanatisms to their political parties to the extent that we don't even pay attention to what the other political opponent is saying, even for the benefit of the country. President Akufo-Addo is raising the alarm of the low rating, the African socio-economical developmentals. The opposition, the NDC, rose to denigrate him. Now, the whole international communities have justified His Excellency Nana Addo for his empirical report of these low ratings on African fiscal disciplines. We need to tone down our political fanaticism and seek the welfare of the Ghanaian people. Lastly, Amisco says, LGBTQ plus is never our option, so I fully support the anti-bill to be passed to punish the offenders. Junior Tamala says, this really shows that the NDC will do anything because of vote. But we, the good people of this nation, always believe that come 2024, Dr. Bawumia will retire our former President John Dramani Mahama from politics. Over to you, Angelo.
Yeah, thank you, Annette. So Collins Kumi says, Paul, I'm Collins, and I always watch you from Cuba. In fact, you've been so amazing, especially on political history of our nation. Now, on the NDC running mate story, Richard Boachi says, someone said every 4 years the NDC changes its running mate or vice president. How true is it? And Ozzy responds by saying, what is wrong with that? Albert Labi says, if Mahama drops Jane, then it means he has no belief in women, and we in the central region will punish John Mahama for that. Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, Nana Bankwa says, we are done with John, so. And Ejadu says, I don't understand why people refer to Mahama as president instead of former president. If he's president, why is he looking for a running mate? Well, back to you, Paul.
All right, that's interesting. That story is coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're going to walk you through the NDC running mate story and the MPP break the 8 story. It's 8 minutes past 10 o'clock. It's break time. After that, we get into full swing political stories. We'll be right back.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor, they say. But as humans, aging and physical infirmity stands our way of enjoying our mansions and homes. It often becomes challenging, if not impossible, to use our stairways day in, day out. With portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators, PVs, you are assured of unlimited enjoyment of your mansions and homes. It's a self-supported elevator for vertical movement of humans and goods at homes and offices. The original comes in 3 custom-made models with wheelchair accessibility. Call it luxury, but it's a necessary imperative for vertical mobility. Do not let aging or infirmity limit you. Get one for your easy vertical mobility at home. It's affordable and can be installed in just 3 days without modification to your existing building. It's however easier to incorporate it at the construction stage. We also have traditional Fuji elevators and escalators for your high-rise buildings and malls. Visit Lifts and Elevators Company Limited at Sakumono for your elevators nationwide. For free consultation to call or WhatsApp us on 0200-535-515. Lifts and Elevators, the elevator people.
JA Planpool Ghana Limited has introduced the all-new Jetto X70 Plus to the market. Jetto X70 Plus is a modern, spacious family SUV with a stylish design, advanced technology, and outstanding quality that promises you luxury with affordability. Jetto X70 Plus comes with an exceptional engine warranty of 4 years or 100,000 kilometers
your gateway to a theme park full of gaming excitement. A whirlpool of wonder where your favorite games come to life. Where you can take to the skies with max payouts that reach into the millions. All in the palm of your hand. Visit betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Bet responsibly. Betway. Bet your way.
Yamawako about the button Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories. Ahadie, a bano KSC near Wakadia. Ubenya Biwa. Kabian in the house, any new here. Yansu ya winning the four, or best son, we ye amount. Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories, ye jume did ye. 24/7. Yes, yes, engine, brake, battery, yes, a sour tie. Say, bano car wash dia. Yawo abe from fidelity says steamer, ya the whole car engine, a brand soon car engine name. Yes, sign ye detailing, metre say, ye bet you car no baby amount. Ye, ya sa polish car namao, kama. And young way no monku, yes, car batteries. Ties, rims, any of your keke count. Manadum Auto Fix and Accessories, Emma Oka, and Sine Dadem, then where you mamma. Shisha Yachira coin what down suman, I saw it down who are any KFC boy, Henimu, a one crying. So open information and answer and Bisabia. Fresh 024 651 9369. Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories. O quine so young papa.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
All right, so we are welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for your time. It's 14 minutes past the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. Now, we are going to discuss the running mate story. President Mahama is here, and somebody was sending a text, Michael, about why we call him President Mahama. It's President Clinton, it's President Bush. They are not looking for running mates, are they? But they are former presidents. John Dramani Mahama is running again for president, and that's why all of these issues come up. But he's former president of Ghana, therefore he's President Mahama. There's a lot of pressure on President Mahama, and I don't want to be him right now. There's a lot of pressure on him. He ran elections in 2016. He ran elections in 2020. And he's running elections in 2024. He is the sole person in his sole discretion to select a running mate that will partner him for the election. In 2020, he came up with a very surprise choice, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, his own former Minister for Education and a former presidential debate host, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. She was a presidential debate host for the IEA, and then soon thereafter, she became Minister for the NDC in the 2012 administration of John Dramani Mahama. John Mahama selected her. Incidentally, she had been the debate host when John Mahama was running the debate in 2012. And after that, John Mahama had selected her to be a member of his government. And she gladly accepted it. So she was Minister for Education. And then in 2020, John Mahama had once again called on her to become the running mate. We had read from the Manasseh Azuri book that, in fact, during her tenure, John Mahama came very close to replacing her at Education because it was thought that she was not doing what the president thought she should be doing. But never mind. She was promoted from Minister of Education to running mate. And that's how they went into the 2020 election. The 2020 election gave up some numbers. The NDC parliamentary group together did better than John Mahama by 200,000. So those who don't like John Mahama were saying that, look, our party is more popular than the candidate, the presidential candidate, so do this, that, change him, etc. Some people said that the addition of Jenano Opoku-Agyeman was the reason why John Mahama was not able to defeat Akufo-Addo, because in her own home region, in Central Region, she didn't win the ballot in Central Region. So all of those things have been said. However, some of the good points about the Jenano Opoku-Agyeman choice was the first time a major political party, major because the CPP had done it before. Incidentally, I mean, I'm not sure Kwame Nkrumah ever thought that one day we'll be talking about Ghanaian politics and we'll call the CPP a minor party and the NDC a major party. But that's what happens when political parties are not built on principles. That's what happened. The CPP may not have been, I'm sure they'll chew me out for that, but the CPP may not have been built on principles. And so it evaporated very quickly. And today it's a very, very minor party. This is the giant party that won elections in 51, 54, 57, 56, 60. CPP was the dominant political party in the whole of Africa. Today is no more. NDC is a major party. So the first time a major political party had selected a woman to be the running mate, it excited a lot of the women. So right now, President Mahama is sitting down and people are going to him and they're asking him, Chief, are you going to choose your running mate from this one or that one? And it doesn't really, I mean, if you are in that kind of position, you really don't know what to do. 6 million people have voted for you. You're not going to talk to all of them about the running mate. You're going to talk to only 10 or 15. And you're going to guess whether this 10 or 15 are representative of the views of the 6 million or the 7 million that you want them to vote for. That's a very difficult choice to do. It's a very difficult thing. You might do a survey. You can ask some of us who do surveys to do survey for you. But how many are we going to pull? We're going to pull maximum 2,000. And we're going to extrapolate and hope that the 2,000 people are representing the majority. Therein lies the margin of error, isn't it? Therein lies the margin of error. So now President Mahama is in trouble. Who is going to be his running mate? Okay. So this is President Mahama and Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. The ticket that we'll be talking about, that some people, including Kwame Nkrumah, who has come out publicly to say that you can't change Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. President Mahama, you cannot, you shouldn't. There's no way you should change Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. Keep her, because that's how we win. All right. Alex Segbefia, some people are saying to President Mahama that, look, if you're going to be competing with Dr. Bawumia, then he's going to compete with you in the north. If he's going to pick an Ashanti candidate as a running mate for the NDC and they're going MPP and they're going to reconcile themselves, then they're going to get heavy votes from Ashanti. We need the Voltarians to stand with us the way they've been standing with us. Because the last time, you know that we lost Hohoi, one seat is gone out of the NDC's dominance in the Volta region. At least one seat is gone. And they are saying that we don't want more seats to be going. Because if we are going to be battling in the north, then you need a Voltarian to stand firm with you and this is the ticket, and it's not going anywhere. That's Alex Segbefia. Others are saying that you're going to win Volta region anyway. Why are you going to pick a running mate from there? Pick a running mate from a swing state. You don't pick a running mate from a settled place. We are going to win. Volta, we will win. NDC, MPP can never defeat NDC. Volta will win. Go for the swing. Western, Central, Greater Accra. Go for those. Bono Hafo and, well, that kind of place. So those people think that Alex Segbefia said, no, John Mahama, don't think about him. Just forget about it. Alex is a great guy. He's going to be a cabinet minister when you are president. But please, let's go to Central Region. Okay, so Alex Segbefia may be out. And this is my guy, you know. This is my guy. Kwame Wadako. Those who are telling John Mahama that, what about the Wadako? You know, he did a very good job. He was at Boss, he was at Tor. Nothing was found against him, even though a lot of things were said about him. Nothing was found against him. He's articulate. He's been a parliamentary candidate before. He represents the youth who are confused. The youth don't know whether they are going NDC or they are going MPP. MPP come this, NDC come that. The youth votes is there to be grabbed. Grab them with somebody who looks like them. He kind of looks like Dr. Bawumia. Have you noticed? Have a look at Kwame Wadako. He kind of looks like Dr. Bawumia small. I mean, if you have Bawumia as number 1 and Wadako as number 2 on a ticket, they will look alike. You know? So they are saying that go for Wadako. He represents youth. He can galvanize the campaign. He can electrify the campaign. Some of those NDC people think that in NDC, they will say in the unlikely event that MPP win, in MPP, they will say in the unlikely event that NDC win. That's how they talk. I mean, if you're a journalist and you hang around both of them, that's how they talk. NDC says in the unlikely event that MPP win. MPP say in the unlikely event that NDC win. So they will say that in the unlikely event that MPP win, we will have a candidate that can run the next election and we'll come back to power. So go for a Wadako. Okay, the Wadako story is there. Now, this is Sam Jonah KB, 9th of the British Empire. It's coming up recently. Sometime back, Sam Jonah put up a speech and a Rotary invitation, and he was critical of government, critical of Ken Ofori-Atta and all of that. Sam Jonah has an interesting and important background that is purely corporate, global corporate, not Ghana corporate, global corporate, New York, London, South Africa. Sam Jonah is an important person in all of those places. Now, those who are talking for Sam Jonah are telling John Mahama that people are looking for somebody who knows how to fix economy if he does. People are looking for somebody who is not a classic traditional politician because they don't have confidence in politicians anymore. So if you were to take Sam Jonah as your running mate, there are demerits to that we will not discuss tonight. There are demerits to that. There are merits to that. We are not discussing that tonight. We're just telling you the conundrum that John Dramani Mahama finds himself in. So now this is the story. We are now going to the history. So we are done with the story. Let us get back to the history and show you what has been happening in the NDC running mate situation. And then we will come back and put this before John Mahama that these are your options. If you believe in omen and you believe in looking into the pots and the kettle and what do they, some people call it black box, they call it, some say I'm going to ask Abrewa. And if you believe in that, then have a look at this history. See whether it portends one way or the other for a certain choice to a certain running mate for John Mahama. This is Konken Senaka. He was the first running mate for the NDC in the history of the Fourth Republic. Konken Senaka was not originally a member of the NDC. He was an Nkrumahist, member of the NCP. Himself and Kojo Chikata formed an alliance with the NDC called the Progressive Alliance for the 1992 election. The NDC was concerned in 1992 that they did not own a political tradition. The UP had a tradition, the CPP had a tradition. They were coming in without a political tradition, and they were quite concerned that they needed to get the CPP on their side. They needed to get the Nkrumahist vote. They needed to represent themselves as the CPP of history, and that's what they've been able to do, really. And so even if you look at the colors of the NDC, they're sort of mimicking the colors of Nkrumah CPP. So Konken Senaka came in and they were able to solidify that. After 4 years, he was kicked out. He was thought to be disloyal to the cabinet that he served, and he had fisticuff exchange with Flight Lieutenant Rawlins. He walked out, and Vice President cannot be sacked. Dr. Obeda Samoa had prepared a bill to go to Parliament to change the powers of the Vice President. I sat in an IEA conference where Justice DFN and all of them were there, where they discussed this bill, and the bill did not see the light of day. But the bill was targeted at sort of getting Aka out of the way. Okay, so Aka was not used in 1996. He was taken out. And the NDC was re-elected. They won the election in 1996. This is a photograph that's unfamiliar. When I saw this myself, I was asking, who is this? And they said, that is Professor Mills of old. I said, oh, this must be the days in which he was teaching at the university. That's Professor Mills, by the way. That's how he looked. Completely different from those of us who got to know him much later. But that's Professor Mills. That's J.E.A. Mills. Okay, he became the running mate. This is a better photograph that sort of connects better to the Mills that we knew. He became the running mate in 1996, and the NDC won the election. Okay, let's move on and see what happened. Then in 2000, there was an election, of course. This was the first time the NDC were hoping to break the 8. When we get to the break the 8 story, we'll deal with that. This is the first time the NDC, the term break the 8 had not happened. But Professor Mills was in pole position. There was no contest. He was elected the NDC flag bearer because Rawlins was told that he is good. Rawlins testified that Professor Mills was good. Now, Dr. Obeda Samoa reports in his book about how the choice of Martin Amidu was made. Obeda Samoa himself was in pole position to become the running mate, and he wanted it at that time. He was the Attorney General and the Foreign Minister. He had held that portfolio for about 8 years as Attorney General and Foreign Minister, very powerful. And Obed had been part of the formation of the NDC. It was said to Mills that because you are not proper politician and you are a kind of technocrat, you need a running mate who is a die-in-the-wool politician, NDC person. So they thought Martin Amidu being a cadre was correct. But the thing with Martin Amidu is that through he's a cadre, through he's very honest, and through his discipline, that he didn't show the connection the political connection with his own political colleagues that was going to sort of reverberate around the room and create a sort of multiplier boomerang effect about his candidature. So his candidature was announced and it was quite flat because it was just about Martin. He did his cadre work. He loved and worshipped Rawlings, and he did what Rawlings wanted him to do. But he was not that kind of person like an Obeda Samoa or Sedun Ketia or Kwabena J, who connects to so many people, and then you can have something reverberating around the room and everybody is feeling a certain way about his announcement. So that didn't happen. So the combination of him and Mills was very difficult to assail the difficulties and the challenges of the time, and also to overcome the MPP juggernaut, which was really rising by the year 2000. So they lost the election. Martin Amidu. Then in 2004, Professor Mills was retained. After they lost the election, there was concern by certain people that Mills be changed. Ospio Gabra, Eddie Annan, and others. They thought Mills should be changed. So the first time Mills came under challenge was, I believe, in 2002, when there was a Congress held at Legon to elect the NDC flag bearer. All the NDC important people, the Fanti Confederacy, united behind Professor Mills. He defeated Kwesi Botwe, he defeated all the other people, and then he became the candidate. He chose Mohamed Mumuni, who himself had not been originally NDC. Mohamed Mumuni had been PHP, the party that belonged to General Erskine, who unfortunately passed. May his soul rest in peace. Erskine formed a party in 1992 to run the 1992 election as a presidential candidate. He was part of those who boycotted the parliament, and Mohamed Mumuni was a member of that party. Somehow, Professor Mills liked Mohamed Mumuni because of what he called his integrity. So he decided to go with Mumuni in 2004. They went to the election and they were beaten by Kofor, etc. Mumuni was changed. In 2008, Professor Mills had wanted to maintain Mohamed Mumuni. He wanted to maintain Mohamed Mumuni. He couldn't maintain Mohamed Mumuni because there was a lot of pressure on him. And Professor Mills didn't seem to see why he should change Mohamed Mumuni because everyone thought that the election of 2004 had been sort of rigged by the MPP one way or the other. The MPP had won a very comfortable parliamentary majority, but it was widely thought by the NDC people that they had been defeated, the presidential election had been stolen from them. They believed that the election should have gone into a second round. In fact, Rojo Metelunu and Mohamed Mumuni took out a writ at the Supreme Court to file an election petition, which was sustained up to a certain level and then it fizzled out. But they filed an election petition at that time. Now, supporters of Mumuni and Professor Mills himself felt that if we thought that the election had been won, why are you asking us to change Mohamed Mumuni? Please get the Elvis Ekfri Ankara tape ready. Yeah? I need it. So they were asking that. Why are you then asking us to change Mohamed Mumuni? Why? Why should we change him? Because you people say we won the election. Incessant pressure was put on Professor Mills from Rawlings, who wanted Betty Mould, from other people who wanted John Mahama, like Victor Smith. And the relationship between Victor Smith and Rawlings is reported to have fizzled out about this conversation because JJ was concerned that his PA, Victor Smith, and his loyalist was not supporting the ticket that he, JJ, and Nana Rawlings were supporting, which is Betty Mould. They wanted Betty Mould to be the running mate, and Victor Smith was on the John Mahama bandwagon. Everyone told Mills that you need to have John Mahama as the candidate, otherwise it was not going to work. So Professor Mills reluctantly decided to have John Mahama. This is how Professor Mills chose to announce John Mahama's candidature. He couldn't. There was so much pressure in the room. When journalists were told that Professor Mills is making the announcement of his running mate today, this was in March 2008. We all showed up at the Kama Conference Center. Professor Mills was to name his running mate. When we showed up, the Professor Mills was not there. So we said, So people were calling people, Mills, he come. I said, I know, come on. I said, you did a I did. He come Mills. So who did it? We don't know. And then the meeting was called to start. Then people were still calling, is Professor Mills there? No. So some of us sent our reporters, go back to Kuku Hill and see whether Professor Mills is there. So a reporter went to Kuku Hill, called me and said, Professor Mills at Kuku Hill, his office. Everybody was confused. Is he coming? Is he not coming? Is he coming? Well, then we heard that J.J. Rawlings had taken off from his office at Ray. He was heading for the event center. So we're wondering, is Rawlings going to make the announcement for Mills? Very dramatic. This is what happened. Have a look. 2008.
Professor Mills has named Honorable John Dramani Mahama as his vice presidential candidate for the 2008 elections. A decision which has been unanimously approved by the National Executive Committee. Professor Mills has named Honorable John Dramani Mahama as his vice presidential candidate for the 2008 elections. A decision which has been unanimously approved by the National Executive Committee.
Yes, so that was Elvis Free Ankara. That's how Professor Mills, the pressure was intense. And then, okay, so this is the book, Dr. Bedasama's book, The Political History of Ghana, 1950 to 2013. The story about how Martin Amidu became, the point I was making to you. And all of these, even the 2008 story I'm talking about is well captured in Dr. Obedasamo's book. So let me have President Mahama. Let's get back to the running mate. Okay, so yes, excellent. So that's how President Mahama became. These were the circumstances. 2008 election comes and this victories has happened. And then the government starts, and then before the next election, Professor Mills passes, President Mahama becomes sworn in as president. And then he chooses the former governor of the central bank, Pakwesi Misarata, to become the running mate. So Emisata is running mate in 2012. Well, he chooses him to become vice president, actually. And then Vice President Emisata appeared before Parliament. So the nomination was done. He appeared before Parliament for the Appointments Committee to look at him. And then they passed him, and then President Mahama then swore him in as the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana in Parliament and before Parliament. So that was 2012. And then 2012 and 2016 also, Pakwesi Misata was the candidate. And then Jenano Opoku-Agyeman was the candidate for 2020. Okay. Now, if you look at the history of the NDC, it is only Misata who has been running mate twice. Just him. Every election, the NDC have changed their running mates. They've changed their running mates in opposition, and they've changed their running mates in government. So now this is the conclusion to give President Mahama the advice. When does the NDC win the elections, and when do they lose the elections with the running mate situation? Okay. So whenever the NDC have changed the running mates when they have been in power, they have won the election. Where's the example? 1996, running mate was changed, NDC was in power, they won the election. Okay. NDC changes running mates almost every election anyway. So let's continue looking at the statistics. 2000, NDC were in power, but Professor Mills was not president. They chose a running mate, lost the election. They changed the running mate in 2004, lost the election. They changed the running mate again in 2008 and won the election. 2012, Pakwesi was made. 2016, he was there. And in 2020, he was not there, so the running mate was Jenano Opoku-Agyeman. Now, Jenano Opoku-Agyeman was chosen as a running mate in 2020 with the NDC in opposition. Now, when the NDC is in opposition and the running mate is changed, have they won or have they lost? Okay, let's go back to the history again. 2004, the NDC was in opposition. So they chose a running mate, Mumuni. And then in 2008, they changed the running mates when they were in opposition. They won the election. Okay. Now, Rawlings changed the running mate when he was in government and he won the election. Professor Mills has changed his running mate once from 2000 when he was vice president but not really president, so he was the incumbent, into 2004. He changed the running mate and he lost the election. John Mahama had a new running mate for 2020 and lost the election. He's still in opposition. Is he going to change the running mate? When Professor Mills was still in opposition and he changed the running mate, he won the election. When JJ was in power and he changed the running mate, he won the election. There's a reason why NDC have been changing running mates all the time. Yes. So all of these have been NDC running mates. All of these. So what's John Mahama going to do if he's going to look at Omen? Should he change the running mate to boost his chances of winning by the Omen, by the history? Should he keep the running mate? Will that boost his chances of winning by the Omen, by the history? I don't know. But when the news went round that John Dramani Mahama may be changing his running mate, give me the newspaper publication. A newspaper publication came this morning from the Herald, and it threatened President Mahama that if he dares change the running mate, he will be in trouble. So this is from the Informer, sorry, it's from the Informer. It says, NDC Women's Group bare teeth at Mahama. And it says this, drop J Nana and lose to 2024. Wow. Wow. It says drop J Nana and lose 2024. NDC Women's Group bare teeth at Mahama. So that's getting very interesting and it's getting very complicated, isn't it? So this is the story. I don't want to be President Mahama at this time. I forgot I should have put an NDC song at the end of this presentation. But I don't want to be President Mahama at this time. They are saying that if you drop Jenan Opoku-Agyeman, you lose to. And those who know President Mahama very well think that his first steps and his inclination will be towards retain Jenan Opoku-Agyeman. Same as Professor Mills. Professor Mills' inclination was to retain Mohamed Mumuni. Pressure was put on him that you need to change the thing so that you can win the election. You bring a young person that the people can jump onto, that John Mahama, people know him and people like him and all of that. So pressure was put on Professor Mills to take John Mahama. It wasn't his original choice. Original choice was Mohamed Mumuni. So President Mahama seems to be in the same situation. His first choice is Jenan Opoku-Agyeman, no doubt about that. But now, pressure is mounting on him to make a change. And some of that pressure is coming from within, from people very, very close to President Mahama, particularly close to President Mahama. Even family members are asking President Mahama, change Jenan Opoku-Agyeman, pick Sam Jonah. But you didn't hear it from me. I'm moving now to talk to Stephen Atubiga, who's just joined us. We'll hold on with the running mate story, directors and producers. We'll hold on with the Break the 8 story. We'll hold on with the Break the 8 story. Let's talk to Atubiga now. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm going to show a video, and I'm going to ask you whether you are the one in the video.
Yes.
And then you tell us the circumstances of that video. Let's see the video again.
I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I'm not from any fancy family, and I come from a very poor home, Your Honor.
So you learned the slangs from your poor family?
My Lord, I've lived in the United States for 14 years, my Lord.
This is what I suspect. In the United States, you know the law works irrespective of anybody?
Yes, my Lord.
For that, you're very, that's the first thing that anybody who has been to the U.S. for some time cannot miss out from. And you come back here with that experience, instead of trying to help build your country in a better way, you just put it aside.
I apologize, my lords, and I take full responsibility for my irresponsible actions. I apologize, my lords.
From the publication, you wanted to be a member of parliament for Binduri. So this is the kind of leadership you are coming into leadership position in this country, and we should sit here and allow that.
Was that used in the video?
Yes.
You look a bit different.
But baptism, I'm growing.
What happened? Why were you there?
You know, during the 2012-2013 election petition filed by the MPP, you know, judges, there are certain cases, the judges gives verdict or take decision considering the atmosphere. The judge, will I be safe after taking this decision? Will my family be safe? Will the country be put together? What will happen to the nation? So all those things are considered when judges are taking decisions, political decisions in the interest of the nation, not in the interest of the political parties. So we the NDC, collectively, including the party structure, we were scared, the party was scared, the candidate was scared, everybody was worried, even though the NDC had the victory, that based on the case the MPP had filed. I mean, they had a very solid case. They had their facts right.
Hold it there. I'll come back to you on that. It's 20 minutes to top of that level. Let me take the text messages from the video we did. Should I start with Fatih? Okay, Fatih, let's start with you.
All right. So this is coming from Junior Akbar Tamale. He says, we the good people of NPP don't care who be the former president or the running mate. We believe in Dr. Bawumia. And coming from Master Planner Junior, Mr. Paul, in NPP we don't have any queue or line for flag bearership or presidency. The NPP delegate rewards candidates who are loyal, hardworking and committed to the party. Also coming from Alhaji Bob Sidi, Paul, John Mahama can go to Nigeria Nigeria to select Tinubu as its running mate, he will still lose the 2024 election to Dr. Bawumia. And lastly, from Yao Eji Bafo, Ata Chance claimed that unless one serves as a vice president, they cannot be a president isn't valid. Akufo-Addo never served as a vice president, but he eventually won ahead of the then vice president, Alhaji Aliyu Mahama. Antoinette.
Okay, so on Paul's submission on youthful vote, Kaneshi Soldier Man says John Mahama should pick Ofori and Ponsa if he wants to get youthful vote. Kwame Pinsa says he wants to know, so who will place Emisa Atta as the vice president to Mahama after his death? Dominic Tete says, after all the seats we claim to have won in the northern region in the last election, what was the difference in seats in parliament between the NPP and the NDC? Let's wise up. And lastly, Opon Asante Albert says, good evening to you, Paul, and your Good Evening Ghana team. I've always been an Alan supporter, but I sincerely believe Dr. Bawumia is a winnable candidate looking at the dynamics of our politics. I implore cool heads in the NPP to strive and make Alan and Bawumia their ticket for the 2024 election. Destiny has a strange way of bringing things into fruition.
Right.
Angelo.
Akbar, watching us from Tamale, says, whether the change or not, the NDC, never again, no way. Well, that's Akbar's view. Marcus Ten Sunday says, thank you, Paul, for all this history. I was young then. And Nana Usi says, Paul, please, how old is Professor J. Nana Pokwajiman compared with what Mahama had said about old age? And lastly, Baba Chairman from Tabali says, Paul, extend my warmest greetings to the Binduri man in your studios. I've really missed him. Back to you.
Okay, that's so you were talking about the NDC's concern about the case.
Yes, there was fear and panic through the rank and file of the NDC during those days, and then the MPP had, putting their facts right. Bawumia was doing justice to their evidence and was defending, and I mean there was and. late Sir John, may his soul rest in peace, and my big brother Ken and Co. You saw the fear that they were putting in the judges, threatening them, telling their families to prepare their funerals. They had coffins here and there, and I mean, at the back door, some of the judges were very scared. So some of us within the party structure strategically had a meeting and also decided that, okay, let's also come out and take the bloodbath position.
Take the bloodbath position
in the interest of also shaking the nation, or also see if we could put fear in the judges for them. Those who, whether we like it or not, some judges are sympathizers of both the NDC and the MPP. If that could, and some spoke in a closed door, the sympathizers of the NDC, that they were scared of their life based on the threats that were.
So what was the bloodbath narrative
that you
gave?
Like the statement that... So
what did you say?
I said...
Or what were you asked to say?
I made 3 statements. I said, look, NDC would never hand over power if the judges took a different decision in overturning the votes. And I said, even if that happened, it was going to be a bitter sweet for the MPP. And then I also made another statement that Ghana will not contain us all if that happened. So we also took that stand.
Why did you make this statement?
I think on Asempa.
So when you were going to make the statement, did you tell your party people this is what I'm going to say?
Oh, it was a collective decision that we all took, that not only me, myself and others. That
you should go and say these things?
We go out and we are taking a stand. Also, it wasn't that there was a particular roadmap or a calculated statement given to anybody. Go out and also take a stand of the bloodbath. You remember, I was the unlucky ones. Others made statements the same way as what Sir John and Co. I was the unlucky one that, whatever reason, that was the one.
So you went to jail for how many days?
For 3 days.
But some people went for long.
Yes, Ken Crunchy, myself and Ken Crunchy.
No, not just that. The guys, the 3 gentlemen.
No, that's after. Those were...
that was after the...
No, that's long. I think somewhere... that's Mugabe and Co. That's way after. That's way after that they went for. They threatened the life of the
Chief Justice.
Yeah, he felt threatened, and some said they were going to rape him.
So when you made the statement on Asempa, did anybody call you, a friend of yours, lawyer, and said, "Look, Stephen, you're going to be in trouble"?
It was a stand of our party then. It was a stand. It was a decision that some of you and we chose to go for the suicide mission, and I don't regret, or I don't regret, because a man should be. You should be stand by his word.
Making contemptuous statements?
At those times, I didn't. The interest of the party was first. You know, in politics...
What were you in the party at the time?
I'm an ordinary foot soldier, an ordinary person.
But you had run for parliament
as
a parliamentary candidate and lost the primaries.
Yes. You know, the NDC is made up of different people with different background, CPP, PNC, they all came, amalgamation of, you know, came together to form NDC. So that is why if you look at, unlike the MPP, which is a tradition, you have to belong. So as you were making some analysis here, I wish I was there to, I mean, I was in the kitchen, fortunately, I know exactly, so I know what my party breathes, I know it's how we win election, I know how that is why we know what happens, okay, at the background, and certain things happen. Fortunately, I knew how to wash my hands very well, so I was closer to certain in the kitchen to get to know how apples were picked from oranges and how we cook some recipes for the party structure to also take and continue. So when I made those decisions, or when I made those statements, you saw the party even issued a statement that they were, you know, standing in support. So that was the decision of...
How did you hear that you had to go to court?
I was home after I'd finished eating my TZ.
On a Sunday?
Yes, then I heard on the radio all over, and radio stations started calling me.
That what?
That I had made a statement that the court, I was being invited. So, and you know, when the Supreme Court invites you, it's a place that no legal structure in this country above their decisions. So, as a human being, politically, when you throw your speech out there, strategically you can withdraw it, even though you've sent the message. So appearing before them, irrespective of your status or your caliber, you have to be humble in front of them. So I started apologizing.
No, so who told you that come to court at this time? How did you get there?
The Supreme Court.
Yeah, did you get a document?
No.
You just had the radio thing?
Yes. And when the Supreme Court...
Okay, so how did you go there?
You
didn't call any lawyer?
No, my own personal lawyers
came,
which Ivan Sanaba was one of them, Maxwell. They came to the house. Some of them even, I think, they spent a night with me, you know.
In the house?
In the house.
Preparing you for the next one?
Yes, what to say, what not to say. And one of the things they told me in court, if you make any contempt statement and you're being asked to repeat what you said, don't dare say it. If you say it, it's disrespectful in front of the judges. That is why I made that statement that I swear never to make such statement.
Let's watch the video again.
Yes.
Let's watch it. It's very short. Let's just have a look at it again. It's an interesting story. Let's see it again.
I'm just a poor boy from Binduri. I'm not from any fancy family, and I come from a very poor home, Your Honor.
So you learned the slangs from your poor family?
My Lord, I've lived in the United States for 14 years, my lords.
This is what I suspect. In the United States, you know the law works irrespective of anybody?
Yes, my lord.
For that, you're very, that's the first thing that anybody who has been to the U.S. for some time cannot miss out from. And you come back here with that experience, instead of trying to help build your country in a better way, you just put it aside.
I apologize, my lords, and I take full responsibility for my irresponsible actions. I apologize, my lords.
From the publication, you wanted to be a member of parliament for Binduri. So this is the kind of leadership you are coming into leadership position in this country, and we should sit here and allow that.
Mr. Chikata was speaking for you.
Yes.
So he was the lawyer?
Honestly, no party lawyer contacted me. It was my own private lawyers. But when I got into the court, then I think one of the lawyers, forgot his name, said, "Oh, Steve, we've been looking for you."
Was it Atubiga?
Yeah. He said, "Steve, we've been looking for you." Because I had prepared myself with my lawyers, and my wife and I had a plan for 10 years. Because with political...
What's 10 years?
10 years imprisonment. That's what my wife and myself prepared.
That you are going to jail for 10 years?
Yes, because with political imprisonment, especially contempt, the chief justices, they had, the Supreme Court, they had authority to do anything, to interpret whatever. So my wife and myself prepared for 10 years. Just within 10 years, I know I'll be out. But we didn't know
10 years?
Yes, that was the preparation myself and my family made.
Did you speak to President Mahama about this before you went to the court?
No, I did not talk to anybody until I
Did you speak to chief of staff?
Nobody spoke to me. Nobody.
Okay, so when you showed up at the court, then Mr. Chikata took over?
Yes, and my lawyers had trained me or had educated me or had that I was ready. You could see that I was speaking on my own at a point. Chikata said that they should let me speak. I committed the crime, and I took the responsibility on myself for the party. You know, remember when I told the judge, I did it, the party had no hand in it. Because if you look at that time, it was so beautiful for any Northerner or so historic for any Northerner to have seen a Northerner leading the NDC because we're tired of getting the running mate slot. So John Mohammed's getting the opportunity to lead the party, his success and his failure was some of us. And collectively, irrespective of your political colors, most people came together that his success was to give the opportunity for any Northerner to also get the opportunity. So whether John was doing the right thing or the wrong thing or whatever he did, and if you see, anytime NDC defeats the MPP, we don't defeat them with much margin. And how we struggle to get the 345,000 around that vote lead for John Mahama to be the candidate was something that it was a dangerous win for us. And then where we found out the evidence that the MPP had and the way Bawumia and Co were defending or giving out their evidence, look, there was Shiva, there was disarray, nobody was sleeping.
So you needed to save the situation.
We needed to save the situation
by also being violent,
yes,
contemptuous of the court,
to make sure, because some of us
and somewhat irresponsible.
Yes, and don't forget that with the background of everybody coming together, beyond the party structure, we the Northern youth or we the Northerners, some of us, we agreed that we became tribally biased, or it was a suicide mission that. And don't forget, myself and John, President, former President, we have a relationship. Okay, beyond politics. This is a man who comes to stay with me with his wife and children in the U.S. This is a man that...
Oh, really?
Yes, this is a man that handed his firstborn, Hamdan, to me in the U.S. that, look, take care of my son.
He lived with you?
Yes, for so many years.
Are you serious?
Yes, yes. At a point, his alive asked him, Lordina and Co, they will come and, all the children will come and stay with me in Virginia. I used to stay in Southern Town. When John came to Johns Hopkins, I drove him to school when he was in Johns Hopkins then. And then he would come for holidays. And look, you'll be surprised that I was one of the people that he called. Mama Yarga was staying, had visited me then. He's alive, call him. When John called me, they've given me the opportunity to be the running mate, was a good thing.
The 2008 one?
Yes, yes.
The Mills one?
Yes, yes, yes.
The one we showed Elvis Ankara announcing.
And honestly,
he called you on the phone
put me on record that John didn't want to be a running mate. John wanted to be a president. There was a lot of talking that he took that opportunity. The opportunity was given to Alban Bagwin.
Oh, really?
To be the running mate for Mills.
This is the first time I'm hearing that.
Yes, and then Mama Yarga and Bagwin decided that since John was out of parliament, okay, they should give him the opportunity, and it took a lot of talking for John to accept being a running mate.
So you're saying that Professor Mills preferred Alban Bagwin?
That was the opportunity. You know, when
mate.
it comes to choosing the NDC running mates, besides the candidate having that opportunity or that authority per our party constitution, there's always a collective consultation because of the blocks. Okay, people have blocks in the party, and that is where he failed. John failed in the year 2000 election that affected him.
2012.
2000. No, I'm talking about 16.
Okay.
The choice of running mate that he chose.
No, Emisa Atta was vice president.
Emisa Atta, before late Atta Mills died, during his last days, that was a promise he made John to give to him, that look, when I'm no more, go with Atta Mills. That's how Atta Mills. That's how Mr. Atta got the opportunity. Okay.
I've heard this story before.
I'm telling you.
I've heard this story from Atubiga.
I am speaking on authority.
That Professor Mills told John Mahama.
Yes, and when I'm no more,
for some reason I'm no more,
go with
Pakwesi.
Go with Pakwesi. Okay, and the reason was, it's a story by itself. Baba Kamara had done so much work for NDC to win power the year 2008. Okay,
Baba Kamara.
Yes.
Alhaji Kamara.
Yes, and he wanted the running mate slot because he had,
for himself.
Yes, because he had mobilized the resources, the bankroll, he had done a whole lot. Okay, and it didn't work for him. He and Mills, there was a rejection within the rank and file. So he brought Emisata has his friend. That is why in 2019, in 2019, if Emisata was alive, he would have been one of our presidential aspirant also contested.
Yeah, we heard that too.
Yes,
he was preparing to contest
yes, and that was Baba Kamara's baby. Okay.
No, so Emisata became governor of the central bank.
Yes.
Appointed by Mills.
Yes.
And you said that was because Baba Kamara had said, if I don't get the running mate, this is my man.
This is my man, because he had brought so much resources to the party then that he had a say so. But unfortunately, the party structure, if they had accepted, Baba Kamara would have been the right person.
So who brought John Mahama to become? I know Mills was not for it.
Yes, it was Alban Bagbin and Mahama Yaraga. He's still alive. They championed, and the rest of the MPs accepted, and then they rallied most of the northern stakeholders and what have you. That politics, 1 + 1 is never 2. 1 + 1 could be 10, and the momentum was so great that that's how John Mahama came.
Right, I see.
But you see,
that's an interesting story.
When President Tamils went with Martin Hamidu, okay, they were going with the party, those who were in line, who had the ambition of wanting to be president, who had worked through the rank and file. You remember, we are socialists. Okay, we don't go by the depthness of your pocket. Unlike today, they've derailed the face of the party, not be representing that it was they didn't care whether your education, what you had, you worked through the bottom to the top. We are not looking at education. And unfortunately, that is why they also forgot that even though it wasn't about education, but you have to build people, unlike what the MPP does. They take people to school, they give them scholarships, they educate them, they build businesses.
NDC does that too
NDP
now.
does. No,
NDC does
no,
it too.
and that is what has brought us this far. They forgot what brought them. You remember, Jerry John Rawlings had the hardcore cadre comradeship leadership.
Yes.
At Tamils, President John Dramani Mahama had the CPP.
Yes, correct.
So the CPC leadership, building assets, but you don't take care, you forget to take care of, pull the people along. Okay? And
I get the point you're making.
Okay.
That President Mahama suffered from a perennial CPP sickness.
Yeah, he didn't pull the
building
people.
without checking.
Yes. And remember, Jerry John Rawlings was, if I don't eat, you don't eat. They shouldn't be poor, they shouldn't be rich. We should all be equal. We should share your fellow brother's problem. But when he came, it was more about, so Atamils has his style of leadership. He had the God-fearing thing. He made sure that he brought everybody, instead of keeping the power at the presidency. That's why the Ahoys became, if you go to the Ahoys, and then whatever instruction that they give, you didn't need to come to Atamils if you're a party member within the whole country that wanted something. The powers were shared. They were leadership at the regional balance power block, that if you went to them, that's how the power block became more stronger under Tamils. So when President John Dramani Mahama also took over, he also had his own style. He had to build his own people. He has to build his own terrain. He has to build, that is how every president, every president does, to be, and that your roots of building.
So where we are right now, what do you think President Mahama will do?
So where we are right now, after going with Martin Hamidu, it didn't work. Then they went with Mumuni. Mumuni too also brought a different direction, a different block on board. Okay, and as as we lost, John Dramani Mahama should have chosen the line, because he was jumping the line. He had the opportunity, so he should have joined, and that is how come. If you look at his loss from 2016 and 2020, it's an internal. He got the votes all right outside. Okay. Now remember the 2008 election. There was a break. The year 2000, Obed Gusitano and they broke away, and they took 1% away. That is how President Kufuor won. So Jerry still didn't amend their differences. He said we could go, and then he lost again 2024. Then late Atamils, with his own wisdom, he called all of them, knelt, went on his knees, asked, what's his name? He went on his knees and begged them that they should. That's how he got the 1% back, and they were able to win the election 2028.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then that is how,
begged the reform people, and people like Obed.
And then in politics, you cut a deal. Politics is business. That's why Bit Zayden and Roger and Co were giving ministerial appointment. So when President John Dramani Mahama took over, he saw that all those people, they lost their ministerial.
Roger was supporting Dufour.
He was a deputy. No, Roger was a deputy minister of health
before John Mahama came in.
Yes,
in 2013.
Yes, he removed him. He had removed Bizadin, all those. So at that time, and you know, in 2012, there was a lot of neglect. People felt that the government was running because his first casualty was choosing the wrong chief of staff, which was Prosper Bani. Okay?
How was he wrong?
He never voted even the vote. He didn't work for the party. He had no clue of the party structure. He didn't know that it is a party that gives birth to a government. So when he got the opportunity to be the running mate, the chief of staff, he forgot to take care. It's like giving birth to your mother. You don't take care of her. It is party that gives birth to a political party, a government. And if a government is in power, they have to take care of the party. And you need a chief of staff that knows that there are foot soldiers, there are activists, there are people that matter. And the chief of staff to have to crack the whip on the national security. Some people have to be taken care of, whether they are kayaye, they are watch sellers, they are taxi drivers, they are whatever you buy. It's all part of governance. For intelligence, you have to empower some farmers. You have to
so
empower
the chief
some
of staff was a
He
missing
failed.
link.
It was
but Julius Deborah came in.
Yes. By the time Julius Deborah came in, it was too late. Imagine when I went to prison. You remember one of the bargains that one of the pleading I told the judges that if I come out, I'll go around the country to sensitize people or people like me or to accept the verdict, right?
Yeah.
When I came out and I wrote a letter, 1 week, I wrote a letter to the chief of staff then, Bani. I said, oh, I need sponsorship to be able to go down and do that because we had sacrificed that you have, you are enjoying as a chief of staff. And our sweat, part of our little sweat puts you there. This man, if it was somebody who was a cadre, if it was somebody who was a comrade, if it was somebody who really understood the party structure, will at least fool me and even invite me into the office after I've written to you. Oh, Steve, how are you? How was prison? How is everything? Okay, even if you are not willing to support, say, oh, maybe I'll talk to 1 or 2 people. He just wrote me a letter.
He replied.
Like I came looking for a job, or like I came begging for money from heaven, or like I came telling him that, can we share your wife or can we share your family properties?
What did he say?
He just sent me a letter saying that I'm sorry, there's no money. You cannot, I can't help, I can't support this.
He didn't ask to see you? He didn't call you?
He gave the letter to one Mausi and he gave me. But honestly, I became very upset and when I thought of whatever misbehaving or, dealing with, I said, look, if I do anything here, I've disrespected John Dramani because he chose him. Let me just walk away quietly. And I walked away. So that's when I had come from prison. And what really hurt me, when I was in prison, right? John didn't visit me. His family didn't visit my family. Nobody came to visit me. The MPP people that came to visit Ken Crunchy, they were the same people that whatever they were doing for him or the same courtesy on me. When I went to Akuse, the MPP people came to visit. None of even NDC person even visited me or even... So but it was, Rollins told us, it's what you can do for your party, not what party can do for you. That is how he has groomed some of us. That's, the comradeship, the cadre, and whatever. And that is why we believe in what you can do for you. And that is what kept some of us going. Then, 4 months down the line, I met John's big brother, Brahma Alfred, at Afrikiku. I said, bro, when can I go see your brother? At least we've paid our dues. Others are grabbing ministerials, but I also deserve something. Because at the end of the day, you have a bowl to take home. You have to feed the family. And most of my business partners were MPP. You know this country, most of the business, you name it, is MPP gurus. They pulled the plug on me. They said, look, either you leave your party, we can still be doing business with you. We are not saying come and join the MPP. I want to, because people that give us the businesses. So I decided to stay with the party. So I met him. I said, oh, can I go see your brother? No, I'll tell my brother that, my younger dad, I met you, but I can't take you to my brother. Straight up. And I believe that if you're a leader, you see how Gabi Achodako does? If you are lucky to be a president, it's not the sole prerogative of the president alone to take care of the country. Family, brothers, sisters, all of you should take a strategic role, not on government payroll, but to...
Is that what Gabi Achodako does?
Yeah, their weaknesses. Yes, they make sure during crisis, they step in to make sure the right thing is done. And that is how brothers are supposed to do. You don't have to be on government payroll. The power that...
So you're unhappy that Alfred...
I wasn't happy, but when I think about my relationship with John Dramani Mahama, I look and see, if you're a Christian, I have a Muslim background, a Christian background. The best way to live long, to be happy, is let God sit in your heart for you to forgive. That is the only way you can succeed. He never said, then he met me one day, oh, my brother says he's going to make you, how do you call it, a board member of the prison service. I said, my brother, that is not...
board member of the prison service.
Yes, I said, my brother, that is not what I need. I need projects to do. I was a contractor in US. I was building houses and selling. I had a handyman company. I had at least every year, I'm one of the Ghanaians, you know, that were doing good over there. What am I doing with board this? Then 6 months down the line, one of his brothers, very respectful, very nice guy, Michael. He met me at Afrikiko. He said, Steve, why haven't you come to see Big Brother? He's been looking for you. Where? I said, oh, it's just that I haven't had the opportunity to go. And I expect that if you work on a farm, you don't need to take your bowl going to the kitchen. They're supposed to dish yours. So I sat aloof and I was waiting because some of us are not, excuse me, we are not bootlickers. We're not kissing ass. So
your concern is that President Mahama didn't pay attention to
Then we went, to fast forward, he held me and he felt so sorry when he met me.
Oh, you went to his house?
No, we went to the office. He said, Steve, he shed tears with me. When he saw me, he held me down. Oh, my brother, you've really suffered and you are, you know, let's go see Big Brother. So we got to the Flagstaff house.
Who is Big Brother? Who is hugging you and shedding tears?
Michael.
Michael, President Mahama's brother. Inusa.
Yeah, no, Michael. Okay. He's called Michael Mahama.
Okay. All right.
He tall. I think he's their last but one. Very gentle guy.
Okay.
So we got to the Flagstaff house. We entered. Immediately we entered. Here Stan Dogbe was standing in front of the president's door. He was inside. You know how you stand in the middle of the door, you have one hand choking and, you know, we say in a Kimbo style. So when I think president was busy, so I think people were coming in, so he had to take that if he can, he was busy. So when myself and Michael got there, Stan stopped and said that the president was busy. So Michael took 2 steps back and said, I've come to see my brother and say he's busy. Get out of the way, let me go see my brother. So Stan moved to the side. So immediately we entered, he started telling his brother, how can your Stan be stopping me? How can he be? Then you know how nice John is. I mean, he calmed his brother down. It took a while, then his brother calmed down. Then he came and hugged me, we spoke. And then we spoke about family matters, and he left his office, came just as I was seated here, he was seated he was seated this way, Michael was seated, I was seated this way. He said, Steve, why haven't you come to see me in the house? I mean, you are a brother. I mean, you don't need permission, you don't need to come to my house. I mean, through any security or any protocol. Then I apologized to him for not taking those steps. Then we started talking. Then he said, oh, where do you want me to put you? I have to put you somewhere. And I told him that I didn't need I wasn't interested in any appointment. I think he didn't mention where he was going to give me. He asked me what was my interest. So as I was giving him my interests and stuff that I want, he said, oh, consider them done. I'll look at it because you deserve it. As what others want appointments and what have you. You know the man that holds his bag, the tall one, he's called Brima.
I don't know.
Okay, he's the one who's been, he came from nowhere, stood behind me and was giving wiper. That the president should agree, the president should. So,
how do you know that if he was standing behind you?
You know, I'm a street boy and a gangster, and I know what time it is. And you could tell spiritual that somebody was behind me.
Spiritual?
Yes. I could, you know, he wasn't far from me. And that's, you know,
so you could feel it?
Yes. So I turned and saw him. So I could tell from the facial expression that president wasn't happy.
He was getting a signal he did.
Yes, his brother wasn't happy. So after then, we continued our talk and we got up. So on our way, Michael said, look, I know you saw what our cousin did. Don't mind him. He even does that to all of us. Nothing came. 2 years down the line, that's around 2014. Then I said, look, it's better I continue my business because I was in debt. I had lost everything. Nothing was coming in. And, you know, you gotta eat. So Michael, Ibrahim picked up the wind. And he invited me to his house. Then he called Julius. You guys are not taking care of us, Atubiga. They have worked in his bedroom one morning. That was the day the president was going to Bupe to commission that.
By this time, is Julius chief of staff?
Julius chief of staff then. So Julius came. Then they had a talk. And that day I was supposed to go perform my mother's funeral in my mother's hometown. You know, my mother is Konkomba, my father is Kusasi. So when you perform the mother's funeral, you have to go to your uncle's place for our tradition, my mother's area. If not, there's a perception that bad luck will follow it. It's your uncle's. So I had to go. That day I went and did it and came back, and nothing came till fast forward. In between, I'll go see my friend. We'll sit down and talk. And I was happy seeing John being a president than what I could get. Because at a point I could have just walked away. But I kept following him. Nothing came. 6 months down the line, there was another problem. Steve, let me put you here. I said, look, Your Excellency. I looked at the president. I said, Your Excellency, the way I'm broke and hungry, if you joke and put me in a position, I may be corrupt and it may not be bad, it may not be good for you. John looked at me in the face. That's Steve. You are the most honest person I've ever had. You've never deviated. You've never been angry. You've never complained, even though you don't have anywhere to go. I mean, you could have pulled the plug on me. So, fast forward, that I'm going to put you somewhere. I said, no, okay, I'll work on your project. This is about 6 months towards election. Nothing happened. And when they pulled the plug on John, John didn't want to be president again. When they betrayed John, based on
2016
yes,
election
yes,
came.
yes, yes.
He didn't want to be president.
Yes,
again.
and it was
Ibrahim published that in the graphic.
Yes,
that
I'm
his brother
telling
was
you.
not going to be president.
Yes, I can speak with authority that we had the meeting myself, and we talked. When I call him now, he will even pick. We had a very good relationship. He said, Steve, there was a day I went to the house talking him to come over. Lord, and I said, leave my husband alone. We are joining ourselves in opposition. That we're no more interested. Look, I was on John's neck. If John cannot count 5 people without not mentioning my name, that was the one giving him trouble. At a point, he
Pressure
said...
to run for 2020.
Yes, 2020. At a point, then I took permission from him that I also wanted to try. And remember, losing an election is also part of the equation.
Try what?
To lead the NDC party. I think it was...
Yourself?
Yes. Then
as a flag bearer?
Yes, then he gave... That was how I contested. He gave me his blessing. I knew I may not win, but I had pushed... You
contested against him?
Yes. I withdrew 1 week to the election that I withdrew. So he said, Steve, at least you are the only person among all those contesting me who had come to take permission from
So how did the situation change? How did he decide?
Okay, down the line, he called me that, Steve, I will give you the opportunity to talk to my God. You know, John Dramani Mahama is very prayerful. So at a point, he told me that, Steve, I've spoken to God and I think it's time for me. I want to join the wagon. At that time, Alabi and Co had all started on board, and I don't want to mention somebody's name. A family member was sponsoring Alabi because he didn't believe that the brother would come. Are you getting me?
Are you talking about Ibrahim?
Well, I don't want to mention. Had given him a V8 and had brought... And remember, one of Alabi's campaign managers ran back to John with a pickup. Okay, so that is how... And I wanted to start. He said, Steve, don't quit. You have to be with it. And put me on record that when we all the aspirants, the presidential aspirants, when we went to Jerry, I didn't know among my 8 colleagues, the decision was to tell John not to contest because they feel that he had gotten the opportunity.
When did this happen?
The day when we went to protest for the 3 billion filing fee at Jerry's house.
Yeah.
So that I didn't know my seniors. That was the plan. So
for Jerry to tell President Mahama
yes,
not
with
to
the
contest.
leadership not to.
So was John Mahama in this meeting?
No, he wasn't there. But on my way, he called me and said he couldn't catch a flight coming into the country. But whatever be the case, I should brief him or if there's what happened, his interest. So it means I represented his interest. So Gusi was there, Spio was there, Alabi was there, Asiedun Ketia, then General Secretary, Alaji Idusu Mama, representing the Council of Elders, and put me on record. I went and told John Draman, Harry Sawyer was the Council of Elders. Immediately he was no more. That seat was vacant. And there was a perception that he was the one who could tame Jerry. So Alaji Hudiaya informed me that, look, tell your brother that position is vacant. They have to put somebody there. You know, Jerry started having problems with the party. So that is how I think he reached out to Alaji Yusumama and he occupied. And when he occupied that position, anytime there was a meeting, we were to meet the Council of Elders. Okay? He chaired. Alaji Yusumama chaired. So when we got there, and the collective decision was to tell John not to contest, I protested there. And anytime I was to speak...
Who told you there was a collective decision?
Because everybody was against me when I was towing John's interest. Okay, whatever that was put on the table, my colleagues would tend to look at me to say, Steve, you don't understand the reason why we are here. So Jerry couldn't take that decision that, okay, he will be at a point... Even when I wanted... But
if John Mahama was not at the meeting, how are you people going to...
Oh, I told them, whatever...
How are you going to take a decision?
Okay, whatever they were demanding, I told them I represent John's interests beside...
Metro TV. Insightful and inspiring moments.
Has Christianity always been one of the religions in the world to you?
Oh, hallelujah. Praise God. Christianity is not a religion, neither is it a joining of a church and doing the Christian things like praying and giving and so on. Hallelujah. Christianity is the outworking of God's own kind of life received into the spirit of a man. Whoa! This divine life in the heart of a man makes him righteous.